got a book today, and I thought I would share it. It is the Song and Garden Birds of North America from the National Geographic Society. Very Christmassy. This is like cardinal on some holly. I don't know if the idea was to give this as a Christmas gift. People singing on my street. I'm not going to pause the recording because they are probably not going to stop singing on my street. Oh, clearly social distancing. But I love this map even in the front of very squished Canada, if I'm being honest. Got like Alaska, the Yukon Territory up here. A lot of North America cut out in Mexico, but that's, I think when they said birds of North America, they meant birds of the United States and Canada, but that's okay. But yeah, we have like this spread right here at the top, showing all these birds migrating around. And one of the things I love about this book, like one of the reasons I picked it up, is just because the pictures that are in here are just so much more like vibrant than you see in the like normal field guides and like whatever else. So like an eastern meadowlark like this, with its mouth wide open and like poorly photoshopped around the edges, just looks a lot better in some of these images than even like the Audubon stuff you usually see. And the other reason that I got it, before we even flip through that part, is that it came with this Bird Songs of Garden, Woodland, and Meadow that I'm just in love with. So it's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which actually still has like some really great bird stuff if you're like interested in bird related things. But it's the coolest book. If you open it up, it's like so listen to the voices of spring. This is just some stuff about like birds. They're great, they do nice things, as like a song spectrogram. So like the song spectrogram of the white-crowned sparrow. But then what I love is the instructions here are how to use your singing book. Do not remove records from the album. Play as a unit. It is important that the album be kept perfectly flat. So you can see this has like a hole running all the way through it, and then each page of the album, so you have like the wood thrush, the hermit thrush, the veery, the Swainson's thrush, and the bicknell thrush. And I guess you would just take this like transparent, I don't know if you can see that in the light, it's like beautifully hypnotic almost, and you would just put this on your record and let it spin. And then the B side of this is the ruby-crowned kinglet, the white-throated sparrow, the fox sparrow, the purple finch. But yeah, so like the robin, I guess, would be cheerily cheer up, cheerily cheer up. And obviously I don't have the equipment to play these, but I just loved this book. So when I saw it, I was like, I must purchase this National Geographic Guide to Birds. So I guess I'll just go through some of the birds in here. So, love this. Look at these goons. This guy who doesn't have binoculars. There he is. Birdwatchers thrill at the sight of wings flashing above a Massachusetts meadow where Thoreau once roamed. I wonder who he is in this scenario, because it's definitely not Thoreau, I'll tell you what. Got baby robins add their hungry clamor to the swelling chorus of spring as their father brings a tiny, writhing snake. Thus we observe the harsh yet wondrous course of nature. Swift death to nourish burgeoning life. This is the other thing that I like about this book, is that the captions are like wildly OTT. Steller's jay. Belted kingfisher. I guess this is right there. So it's like not that impressive. It's like when people read menus in other languages and like there's the other language right underneath it. The robin, which you can always tell obviously by the red breast, but also that like telltale divided eye line thing. American goldfish. Painted bunting. And yeah, the other thing that's nice about this is that it has all these stories, kind of like National Geographic style stories about birds as well. It's a female, well not, it's just a brown thrasher. These are the female red-winged blackbirds, or the male and female red-winged blackbirds. The males have the red patches, but I don't think the females do. That might be wrong. Sorry about that. A scarlet tanager. To glimpse this secret star, you must stalk and scan. Then we have pigeons in Central Park. Eastern bluebird. Look up, look down as well. Oh, look, there's a nest. On the very ground you tread, some creatures of flight, the painted redstart for one, hide their flashing colors in Earth's protective cloak. Sometimes, if you give heed, a small cry, a riffle of wings may give them quite away. Also here, at rest, a bird's wing folds into a Z shape, with elbow and hand pointing towards the rear. Extended, the wing displays the arrangement of flight feathers. The big primaries. Also, fussy as girls fixing their hair. Birds preen tirelessly. So, you can tell this is an older book. Oh, the anatomy of a bird. The flight feather. Yeah, you have the shafts and the barbs. These like all zip together, and so when birds kind of run their feathers through their beak, they're zipping them shut again. Some things that are cool about birds. So they have this giant breastbone, and that's where all of their muscle groups attach to lift and to bring the wing back down again. And they have between the like scapula and the collarbone and the like upper arm, there's a little hole called the foramen triosium, which foramen is just hole, triosium is 3 bones, so it's the hole between 3 bones, that the tendons from the like top part of the the attach to the top part of the bone, so the tendons like run through the bone and attach to the top. And then there's the tendons at the bottom, so that the wing can both be lifted up and come back down again. And the other thing that's cool is that bird bones, like all these big bones, are hollow but have struts in them, and that's how birds stay light enough to fly but still have really solid bones to keep them. This is a shrike, which you can't see it here, but when their beaks are closed, they kind of look like this, like the crossbill, a little bit. But shrikes impale their prey on spikes to show off for females. So they have these little crucified birds lying around, or crucified prey to be like, check me out, I'm a provider. Which, it's interesting. The marvel of flight captured on film. Raising his wings, a bluebird takes off on the downbeat, legs trailing, tail up. He dips his head to level off and tucks his legs. Approaching another perch, he lets down legs. Tail fans out as a break. The body rears for balance. Feathers pivot to let air through wings. The springy legs absorb the landing shock. So I love this. This is how bird flight actually works. Which I'm sure before they had such precise photography, it was really hard to figure that out. Flapping and pecking. Male American goldfinches display pale winter plumage as they fight over food beneath Spanish moths. So yeah, this is the American goldfinch when they're in their mating plumage. So that's quite a difference. Ooh, nest building. The Baltimore Oriole suspends her finely woven nest in a tree. The cliff swallow, a cliff dweller in the west, plasters its mud nest under barn eaves in the east. The sociable bird lives in colonies, which is probably why you can see several entrances. I don't know if that's one. And we got eggs. Starling eggs. Cedar waxwing. This is one of my favorite birds. The red-winged blackbird. So this I find so interesting. I read a whole book about how eggs are made that describes how that sort of crazy sketching pattern gets put on eggs like this. Chipping sparrows. So these are if you're not seeing a house sparrow, you're probably seeing a chipping sparrow, and the way you can tell is they have this little black strip by their eye. Scrub jay. They have really interesting colony structures. Dick Sissel. My sister gave me a book full of inappropriate, or not book, it's a mug with a bunch of birds with inappropriate names on them, like the titmouse and the Dick Sissel, which I drink from periodically. A wood thrush brings home an insect meal for her hungry young. Landing, she joggles the nest, and the infants react by gaping. Their bright gullets stimulate the parent to gather food tirelessly. Interesting. These are belted kingfishers again. Top-heavy toddlers, fresh from their burrow, face the outside world. Big heads and strong bills will soon serve these young belted kingfishers when catching finny food. Birds in your garden. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Low-flying sparrow falls prey to the high-jumping bullfrog. In his Maryland garden, the author saw the amphibian burst from the water, seize the bird with tongue and forelimbs, and then fall back to swallow it. Frogs, in turn, often make meals for owls, grackles, and crows. I wouldn't even imagine that this bird could fit inside of the frog, but okay. With the thrust of its bill, a chipping sparrow. So this is the bird that I was talking about, you can tell a chipping sparrow because it has this black stripe running across its face. Birds display a variety of eating habits. Seed eaters, for example, attack sunflower seeds in several different ways to secure the nourishing meat. You can often tell a seed eater because I think these are grosbeaks. Yeah, evening grosbeaks. So it's pretty obvious they have big beaks. Gros is big, but cardinals have this beak too. I think they're actually in the grosbeak family. Blue jay. Yeah, building a birdhouse. Aren't we fancy? Downy woodpecker. That's a male because it's got the red. And hairy woodpeckers are basically downy woodpeckers, but a little bit bigger. That's what I was saying. The tufted titmouse. Got a car coming through, just being as loud as possible. Junco. Nuthatches are interesting because they're always upside down on the tree basically. So you can always sort of recognize a nuthatch even from far away because they're just scuttling down. And they have these little I think of them, you know how Grace Kelly has, let this car go by. Grace Kelly has a little ski bridge nose. Nuthatches kind of have the same vibe with their noses. Ugh, a bushy-tailed rabbit feigns innocence as he sits before his sunflower seed husks that mark his stolen dinner. Bird feeders. This is not a very effective feeder, it's just a stump. Oh, this is the cedar waxwing I was telling you about. It's not a very nice picture of a cedar waxwing. It's good. It's like most pictures of me where my mouth is just full of food. But they're cool looking birds. And here's a Steller's jay. I don't know these ones as well. This is not my usual garden mix. The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth. What an awkward bird bath. It's so over the top. I wonder if this is the child of the author. I do love the idea of trying to deliver mail and there's a whole bird's nest in there. Oh yeah, Audubon had this illustration from Audubon is one of my favorites of these wrens nesting in an old hat. These are in a paper bag. This is exactly what I imagined the author was going to look like. These baffles, though, everyone always thinks they're going to keep the squirrels at bay, and then they never do. The squirrels are much too smart. Look at this tail this hummingbird has. Jeweled Lilliputians on slender wings. Lilliputians. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this. With 8 pairs of ribs, bill long and slender, gape not deeply cleft, tibial bridge absent, nostrils lateral, broadly operculate, tongue extensile, no sternal-tracheal muscles, no gallbladder, and no adult down. That is the definition of a hummingbird, apparently. And even though gape not deeply cleft has a fine Shakespearean swing, I must say, I had to search elsewhere. To Audubon, the hummingbird was a glittering fragment of the rainbow, a lovely little creature moving on humming winglets through the air, suspended as if by magic in it. Yeah, the ruby-throated is the most common one. Oh, I love this. Making a fast getaway. A female ruby-throat leaves her hovering position by reversing her wings to fly backwards. What? A twist of the body puts her virtually on her back while she changes direction 180 degrees. Right side up again. She darts away at full speed. A hummingbird hovers with its wings beating about 50 times a second. To count the strokes, the author records the sound of flight on tape running at 15 inches a second. Then he plays it back at quarter speed on an instrument that transcribes the sound on graph paper. God, imagine counting things that way through audio speed. Oh, here he is. The author photographs the wonder of hummingbirds in flight. What year was this? Approximately. 1964. That explains it. Lucifer hummingbird. Wonder why it's called that. In a family noted for aggressiveness, the Lucifer has established itself as more pugnacious than most, showing its mettle during prolonged aerial combats between males in courtship. In a shrub, the female builds a nest of down, bud scales, blossoms, and spider webs for her 2 white eggs. The young resemble the female. Anna's hummingbird. Costa's hummingbird. The quiet habits of this bird give way to more active behaviors at the approach of the nesting season. The courting male, his amethyst gorget feathers projecting like an oversized bow tie, there, ascends 100 feet or more, then swoops down. It's like a woodcock. He passes close to his plainer-hued mate to rise to his formal level on the opposite side. Yeah, he also has a whistle. So it is really like the American woodcock, where you can like hear it flying. Allen's hummingbird. The Calliope hummingbird. Look at these beautiful like patterns on it. This is one of the largest hummingbirds in North America. Liboli. Mainly a resident of Central America, this bird barely crosses the border into the United States. Wish these cars would barely cross the border into my room because you can really hear the sound. Oh wow, she looks like a lady dancing. Look at those feathers. It's like a shrimp almost. Doesn't it look like a little shrimp like mixed with a bird? Blue throat. The blue throat's specific name is Clementiae, meaning in one sense kind or gentle. But by a happy coincidence, the word also means tame or domesticated, which is an apt name for the blue throat likes to make its home close to the dwellings of man. Xanthus's hummingbird. Xanthus is curious and noticeably unafraid of man. Naturalist Ira L. Wiggins, great name, got a memorable going over from one black-crowned male. quote, "For the space of a trifle, over 3 minutes, he flew around my head, down to my feet." It's especially bad tonight. Sorry. Up one side of my body and down the other, zigzagged in front of my face, hovered and circled. On 4 occasions, as it made the circuits around my head, the bird touched the lenses of my glasses with the tip of its beak. Wonder what he thought was there. The kingfishers. This is not a very good picture. This looks like he went through an electric shock. The exotic beauty of the Southwest. The woodpeckers. A downy woodpecker grabs birch bark with strong toes and braces with its tail as he feeds his young at a nest hole in Maine. This is a male. Juvenile ivory bill. Oh, sad. Drew blood from his captor's hands just after banding. Rare 1938 Louisiana photograph is one of the last of this vanishing species. Such a shame. The ivory bill is basically gone at this point. Oh, northern flickers. I'm assuming. Oh. Yeah, these are flickers, for sure. Lapping up ants with flypaper tongues. Look at that tongue, it's so weird looking. The red-shafted flicker. At rest, this western woodpecker hides his brilliance beneath folded wings. Then he flies up from some mountain meadow, and salmon red wing linings wink against the somber wooded slopes, a sudden gladdening sight. Here's the yellow-shafted flicker, the yellow underneath. And I guess this sign means that they have the sound of it if you wanted to hear it. The gilded flicker. Combine the head of a red shaft and the body of a yellow shaft, and you have the gilded flicker. He lives in the southwestern deserts where the giant saguaros stand tall with upcurved arms. These cacti offer the flickers nesting and roosting sites and retreats from violent spring rainstorms, and they provide the birds with a diet of ants, other insects, and cactus fruit. This is why I usually record these at night. This is the pileated woodpecker. They're huge. A barrage of heavy blows shatters the early morning stillness of a New England forest. A blur of red high in a dead tree marks the source of the noise. It is the brightly crested head of a pileated woodpecker, arching back and forth to deliver battering strokes with his sharp black bill. There's a red-bellied woodpecker, which is funny because, yes, he has a red belly, but it's mostly the head is red, honestly. The Gila woodpecker. And there's the red-headed. I wonder if they're going to have something about the ivory bill. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. There's the downy and the hairy, and they look virtually identical, except that the downy is smaller. The ladder backed, so you can see that. Why would they name that? Though obviously, I guess they have white spots on their back. Arizona woodpecker, white-headed woodpecker, ivory-billed. So this is the one that's extinct now. The largest North American woodpecker is also the rarest. It may even be extinct. This was even in 1964. The ivory bill, on wings spanning up to 33 inches, ranged through stretches of virgin forest that once cloaked river bottoms in the southeast. Fortunate observers said he flew with the speed and endurance of a duck, ceaselessly searching for sweet gums and oaks that had recently been attacked by fire or damaged by storm. Such dying trees harbor large beetle larvae next to the sapwood. These grubs were the ivory bill's staff of life. It's so, over-dramatic, but I love it. Alighting on a tree so stricken, this Samson among birds smashed his ivory dagger into the tight-fitting bark. This is getting kind of sexual. He also ate grapes, persimmons, and hackberries. I don't know what a hackberry is. Oh, they were shot in colonial days. The tyrant flycatchers. Watch a phoebe at work when an insect comes into view. It darts from streamside perch with unfailing accuracy to close its mandibles over the tiny prey with a precise audible snap. Also, phoebes, you've definitely heard, they're the ones who go, Phoebe, Phoebe. This is the sharp-eyed, ash-throated flycatcher returning to his saguaro home to devour a cicada piecemeal. And the small insects he swallows in flight. Oh my gosh, this woman is very excited by the flycatcher. Look at these 60s nerds with glasses. On goes the bracelet and away goes the bird. When? Where to? The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service finds answers in recovered bands. First in America to band a bird was probably Audubon when he tied a silver thread to a flycatcher, an eastern phoebe. The scissor tail. This one, I love the tail here. You might have seen illustrations and stuff. The kingbird. Eastern phoebe is the one I was imitating before. Yellow-bellied flycatchers. I remember one time one of my most exciting ornithology experiences was we saw a hybrid flycatcher. It's a mix of two different flycatchers that seemed pretty close together, but my ornithology professor was very, very excited. The vermilion flycatcher. The larks. Oh, I love this. Look at these. The swallows. The streamlined harbingers of spring. The swallows. Like beads on strings, bank swallows assemble on northern power lines for their autumn migration to South America. Wow, look at all these swallow nests. Who is this dork? Wonder if he found this photo and was like, I'm much more interested in this than this woman and her bells. The barn swallow. This is what you probably see if you go often to lakes and stuff. You'll see barn swallows flying around. You can tell because they kind of look like little cigars, but they have these they're the forked tails. cliff swallows, tree swallows, bank swallows. These are such weird birdhouses. Oh, hanging gourds lure martins to an Alabama garden because the nesters drive off crows. That's more interesting than a scarecrow for sure. Jays, magpies, and crows. Ghastly, grim, and ancient raven. Poe's words connote no ordinary bird. Corvus corax can kill a young deer or lamb. Really? Like all corvids, the hardy raven possesses large feet for perching, grasping, running, and hopping. Look at these striped toes. A young black-billed magpie. I was about to say its bill is not black yet, but apparently it will become so. Oh, who is Alice Martin? Why is that name so familiar? Corvids make themselves at home around the haunts of man. The tame crow learned to rouse his master and even call his name. The pet headed straight for the refrigerator when hungry. A relative, a Tibetan raven. Which one is the tame crow? Oh, this tame crow is rousing his master. That's so cute. And then this Tibetan raven begged for handouts at 21,000 feet from the 1963 American Mount Everest expedition. Jays mix fun with thievery. The blue jay perched on the camera later snatched a shiny quarter off the ground and whisked it away. And the blue jay foundling shares a girl's sympathy with a young robin. I'm going to bookmark this page because I love this, but I want to remember who Alice Martin is. So I was going to stick a postcard in there. This is The Trouble with a Short Horse. You know what? That is going to bend this. Let me see if I can't find something a little more flexible. Jays. One of the bird's outstanding characteristics is its noisiness, for sure. I wonder if it'll talk about the scrub jay. Yeah. Blue wings and tail spread wide, a crestless jay sails down the side of a brushy western hillside. Jeez Louise, this motorbike is so loud. Centuries ago, the scrub jay is believed to have ranged from coast to coast, but for reasons unknown, it has disappeared from the east except in Florida. And this race is truly isolated. It never leaves the central portions of the state. Where sandy soil produces scrub growth, impenetrable thickets of saw palmetto, sand pine, and scrub oak, the Florida jays are a familiar sight. It doesn't talk about how... So scrub jays have this really interesting pattern where little parcels of territory are given to a nesting pair, and their family just has to live there and it's almost like a king and queen bee, and the rest of the jays are drones, and they don't get to have a family until they break off and find their own territory. Members of the Lewis and Clark expedition told of magpies invading their tents and seizing meat from the dishes. They thrive on carrion and help rid the roads killed by cars. They pick ticks up from the back of larger animals and consume offal, grasshoppers, noxious rodents, and weevils. Wild. The fish crow. I've seen a fish crow. They're hard to tell from common crows. At one time, the pinyon jay was also known as Maximilian's jay, in honor of the German naturalist Maximilian, Prince of Wied, who discovered the species in Montana in 1833. Wonder why they stopped calling it that. Maybe because we just dislike Germans so much for a while in the middle of the century there. Look at this black-capped chickadee sharing a peanut. Plump little acrobats. I think I might end there for today, but I'm going to come back and go through the rest of this book because there's still a lot